Hey everyone, I'm here live with a special guest, Miss Megan Holmquist. She is a clinic manager for Voyage Healthcare, located in the urban, sweet, chic urban area of sunny Minneapolis, Minnesota. Welcome, Megan.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Oh, yes. Hey, we're here to talk today about rounding. Great work relationships, how you build them as a leader. And I'm really excited. As you know, this is one of my very favorite topics ever because I so believe in the power in your leadership of rounding. And I was known as the rounding queen in my place of work. In fact, I think there's some random video on YouTube from many years ago set to the Dancing Queen by ABBA, only it was the Rounding Queen. So I challenge everyone out there to find that. So rounding is just the best though. Here's the problem. Here's the problem. We talk about the reason why your employees leave you is because they feel unappreciated and unheard, especially now. The rounding is the number one tact to reverse that. But what we see leaders do is when we explain it's a great way to build great relationships for people, oftentimes they'll say, I know my people. I say hello to them every morning on my way to get coffee. Or, I mean, come on, these people have worked for me for 10, 25 years, like I know them. But really, truly, do we know everything there is to know about people that we work with? And do we want to know? But how do you get to the heart of what's important for you to know that affects people at work? And I was sharing with you, Megan, like two stories, very distinct stories of if I had not asked very systematic and purposeful questions to build relationships with nurses that I had been working shoulder to shoulder with for 10 years. If I hadn't asked, I know they would have left me. I absolutely know that they would have. So, but what kind of happens is people don't give it a chance. They see it as a task, or they see it as just one more thing on their plate and their overwhelmingly large pasta plate that's overspilling with things to do. And they don't see two things: how developing relationships with people keeps you from having to rehire constantly, right?
Mhm.
And your engagement doesn't suffer. And the other thing is, I don't know how I ever managed my departments without it. I mean, like I had three different departments, people going every which way, no shared staff between them. They were just like three separate sets of staff, and I needed help managing on a day-to-day basis. So when I asked questions like safety questions or questions like what's missing or broken today, they knew. I don't know. I don't got time to be searching every corner of all three departments, right? So it's just this great, amazing gift. Everyone needs it. Every leader needs it, right? So tell me, what do you think the greatest gift has been in your leadership as far as rounding goes?
Yeah, so I think, success into the rounding and my leadership and relationship building. I think we have done a really good job at making an effort to look at things, from multiple perspectives when connecting with our employees. And I think we really understand that we all have something to contribute, and it's important to connect with everybody we want everybody to feel like they have that sense of fulfillment behind what they do. Um, and I think that's that's been really good. I think, we had a previous um, way one-on-one sessions with our employees. But I think just with implementing Capstone's suggestions, it's really helped us because the questions that we're asking are, we're targeting really purposeful questions related to specific things, whether it's a new initiative we're rolling out and checking in to see how that's going, or, it's just been really good to ask more detailed questions, I guess.
Sure.
Um, and I think what I've noticed just from what we have done previously, our previous way of doing it, we would ask a question to one of our employees, and then we would give them the opportunity to ask us something back. They could have a new idea or a question, or it could be anything. It turned out we would find that employees might just leave that page blank and really not, I don't have anything to talk about, or and that type of thing. Where I think now with incorporating Capstone's recommendations, we kind of know who those employees are who might do that, so we can really kind of think about where they're at, and maybe what new things have rolled out, or how we can connect with them and really ask more specific questions to try to really dig in further.
Right. And we always encourage leaders to individualize it for you, make it work
Mhm,
for your leadership.
mhm,
I love what you say that everybody has something to contribute,
mhm,
but people often don't feel like that or don't feel like they can. And so if you're the type of leader who only really meets face to face with your staff during a staff meeting,
mhm,
which is more information based, guess what happens? People are in a group and they're like, they're not raising their hand. They feel stupid, right?
mhm, mhm,
But if they have a great idea, you make them feel comfortable because, I'm going to round on you every quarter. We're going to have these meetings. You can come to me anytime with your great ideas, but
mhm,
now is your time. What do you
mhm,
think about what's
mhm.
going on here? Yeah, that's
And
genius.
that's
Love
the other thing. I feel like this has really helped, employees might bring up something to you in these rounding sessions that they might not otherwise, specifically pull you aside for. And so I think that's really important that we can capture those.
Absolutely, because they know you're busy, right?
Yeah.
That you're busy. Oh, she's too busy. I don't want to bother her with that right now. So yeah, it is truly a gift for both the employees and the leaders. So what barriers did you run into when you tried to implement this at Voyage Healthcare?
Yeah. So I think, like anybody right now dealing with what we refer to as the Great Resignation, can kind of relate to the barrier of staffing shortages.
Mhm,
Staffing, I think, in the times we're in, has been our biggest challenge right now.
mhm,
But I think we've done really well in working through that. We really, as we've implemented employee rounding, we've also kind of tweaked a previous process of tracking these sessions, and um, we can then be a little more creative in ensuring we're mapping out these rounding sessions,
mhm,
and making sure that we're taking the time to connect with everyone quarterly, one-on-one,
mhm.
to make sure we're catching, having the chance to meet with everybody. Um,
Right.
and also it serves as accountability too. And I have heard you say, Jane, that we don't have time not to round with employees. So I think just kind of keeping that in mind, the importance of it,
Mhm.
because it really can um, lower our whirlwind atmosphere. So,
Oh, sure.
mhm,
Absolutely. I'll never forget one time I was teaching rounding to at a leadership development, and the CEO got very disgruntled with his leaders who were, we don't have time, we don't have time, we don't have time. And nothing I was saying was really getting through to them. And I had just taught 60 minutes on servant leadership and then went into rounding. And so he literally stood up in front of them and he said, "Are you my leaders, my trusted leaders, my trusted advisors in this organization telling me you don't have a half hour to spend with each one of your employees, that you're too busy to meet with your best resource for getting your job done?" What? They were like, "Oh yeah, when you put it like that,
this accounts
I
of it.
guess we got time." So what was the challenge for Voyage Healthcare? You guys got like 5 clinics spread out all over Minneapolis. What challenged you?
So, I think, like I say, we map out those sessions, and I think, we work with our specific site and supervisors, and really map out how we're going to do that. And so we basically have, you take those employees in each quarter and you map out, you have a little more leeway because you can kind of organize it.
Mhm.
But I think that's just a barrier we've really worked through well.
Mm.
Another roadblock, I think, is as we've implemented this, we have utilized the stoplight report.
Mhm.
And so I think for us, just due to multiple departments, multiple sites, and that type of thing, as we've kind of worked through our workflows, that's been probably the most challenging part for me, as when we're looking through this. And um, I think we've done a good job of kind of going with the just start. And for each site, we document our roundings, actionable items on that stoplight report so that we can really track those, and making sure we're following up with employees on those items.
Sure.
A lot of what we've seen so far, we've really been able to take action on right away. It's been a lot of, department or site specific things that we can just kind of do the green light and take care of things. And so I think it's been useful. And then we post that each month on our communication boards. That way our employees can see that follow-up action taken. So it serves
Cool.
as a good source of communication too.
Nice. Well, and it lessens the follow-up. We've had some really dedicated leaders tell us, I love this relationship building. I love it, but geez, the follow-up is painful. Well, first of all, they're not delegating enough. They're just taking the monkeys, right? They're just like, oh, I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you. I'll do it for you. But also, then they find themselves answering the same questions to 26 employees when they could have just put it on a stoplight report so everybody saw it.
Sure, sure.
So again, it's work up front, but it's proactive work to
Mhm.
save you time later. So
The other thing I've noticed with the stoplight report, because we do have multiple sites and departments, if we can monitor those too and see like, oh, someone at this location is saying this and someone at this location is saying the same thing,
right.
then it kind of helps us evaluate our processes, and maybe we need to, revisit that and do some changes. So I think it'll be useful for that as well.
Cool. Wonderful. So you mentioned when you and I were talking about, I was telling you my story about relationships that I formed through rounding and things I found out about employees. When employees are in turmoil at home or their lives are particularly stressful or they're worried or concerned or anxious about something, you may never see it. They don't have it tattooed on their forehead. Hey, Megan has asked me about this, right?
Mhm.
So you told a really impactful story of, an employee telling you they were concerned and
Mhm.
how your
Mhm.
organization responded to that.
Yeah. So I think, everyone right now, safety, we see it in the news every day. And so it's kind of unfortunately at the front of our minds. And so I think, right, I think there was an incident where it just kind of stirred up the question of an employee, like, if there was ever a threat here, where would I go? What would I do? And that type of thing. And as an organization, that is definitely being looked at in that. But I think it just really helps us visit those really important things and making sure that we have processes in place for that, because of course we do want our employees to feel safe, and know how to react in those, hopefully that would never happen, but in those situations, and
Sure.
know exactly what to do. And so I think it just really helps us look at those um, important things.
Right. Whatever they're frightened of, they'll go
Mhm,
somewhere where they don't feel frightened,
mhm.
right?
And if we hadn't connected, that maybe wouldn't have, been brought forward.
Right.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Megan.
Yes,
It was so great to see your face.
you as well.
So, audience, if you want to learn more about what Megan has put in place, we have it for you. It's the Just Start Solutions. Go to our website, www.capstoneleadership.net. Book a call with us, push the button, and we would be glad to chat with you about how you can implement leader rounding in your workplace. All right.